right? So the basic difference what I can say between Glue and traditional systems like Informatica, DataStage and all. So they are very user friendly. So you'll be seeing there will be a lot of plugins out there. You can drag one particular data source and you can just create a mapping with just simple drag and drop and click. Here that option is there, but it's not that level of flexibility. You still have to write a lot of code, just like in Databricks, you saw you have to write code, right? So same
Yes,
thing. So here you have to write the code, but yeah, you don't have to worry much about the infrastructure because many people still struggle with what is the executor configuration, how many executors I need, how many node cluster I have to create. All these things have been abstracted. You just write the code, it will automatically, dynamically just scale up, scale down, and all this. You have flexibility to configure that data processing units, BPUs also. But if you don't want, you can still skip it. It will automatically be taken care. So that is one thing, and you don't have to create whole bunch of programs and all separate IntelliJ built as a jar file, deploy it, create a CI/CD pipeline to continuously build, integrate, deploy, and all this. So here everything is available as a notepad kind of. So you have to write code there and you test there only. Okay, so development effort is less. Like all small companies who have very less budget, 5-10 people are doing some analytics work, some cool use case in their mind. So hiring multiple developers, creating projects, it will take significantly more amount of time. But nowadays, though people are very fast, you will see nowadays like 1 or 2 year experience guys way more efficient. He can do a lot of delivery, but still, even if like that fresher is also working in AWS Glue, so the development time is lesser in comparison to traditional way of doing the development. Okay, that is there. And yeah, these are a couple of differences. But yeah, many companies started using it. In fact, in our batch, only the DSM group, sorry, not Rupesh, Deepak is there. No? He's working in Infosys. He's working with some client and they're using AWS Glue, Delta Lake, everything. You can just catch up with him. Maybe I'll also, if I'll get a chance, I'll talk to him what other things they're using. So yeah, that is there. But yeah, maybe like if it is really that efficient, I may start a new course all about AWS Glue. I just started recently. But yeah, it has a lot of potentiality. So let's start about this Delta Lake part today. So I just shared a code. Can you quickly download it? I think you're not in any of this batch, right? Yeah, I think you're there. Yeah, just download this code. Yeah, just extract it and import it. Meanwhile, just let me tell you like what is Delta Lake. Delta Lake is just a concept. Okay, don't feel like Delta Lake is kind of a data warehouse. You have to install it and all this. Or basically, it's a traditional data lake is what? Data lake, you have heard about data lake. Data lake is nothing but you just do the data ingestion from multiple sources, dump it to a single system, isn't it? So your data is your data is available in SQL Server. You do the data ingestion from all the systems. You read the data first, put the raw data as it is into your into a centralized location. That we call it as Delta Lake. So that we call it data lake. So that's a lake of data. Okay, not very cleaned, not very useful data, but all this data is basically dumped there. Then basically you read data from that particular storage central repository. Then you can create a subset of that. Say, these are called warehouses. Okay, so Reliance is putting all this data in a centralized data lake, and for Reliance Jio, they are creating a data warehouse. So they'll be lake and they'll be creating their designing their data warehouse. It's a subset of data lake. Again,
Siddharth, your voice is breaking a little bit. Meanwhile,
is it for everybody?
Yes, Siddharth.
Yeah, it's
sometimes
breaking.
it is.
Okay, I think it should be better now, right? Is it better now? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, now.
Okay. So yeah. So what I was saying, like a data lake is basically the central repository of all this data, all this raw data. We dump it there as it is. Then you can take a subset of data and create a separate warehouse. Yes, that warehouse is basically for different business verticals. You create different warehouses for a given business vertical. Again, you subset it the warehouse and create a data mart. It's use case specific. I want to basically do advertisement part, so I have to target all this user activity data. I can create a different data mart which will help me understanding the user activity on their websites and different platforms where you are selling your products and all. It's use case specific. Okay, so that is that. So similarly, you have like that's the whole idea behind data lake. But traditionally, this data lake has certain limitations. If you have heard about change data capture and all, change data capture, CDC, anybody heard about it? It's a common interview question. What is CDC? How do you implement CDC there? Anybody heard about CDC, change data capture? I think Stefan might have heard about it, right? Because you are working in retail.
Data type 2 changes.
No, I'm not talking about SCD2. I'm saying CDC, change data capture.
I mean, we are taking the data interval day on daily basis from the source systems.
Okay, so basically you have suppose you are reading a transaction data, and every day basis you read the data, and say what happens, like you put a condition like where transaction timestamp you convert it to date equal to today's date or current date. So only that portion of the data will be fetched from that database and it will be added to your data lake. So that's the traditional way we follow. But there are a lot of caveats. There are a couple of caveats are there. If you just think like, suppose some database has been implemented or transaction table has been implemented in such a way that you have two columns, one called transaction timestamp, another is called cancellation timestamp. Okay, so you read the data. Suppose what happens, which transaction happened a couple of days back. There are chances today you just read the same data, but you read some data 4 days back. Okay, where the cancellation timestamp was null. Okay, that means that's a successful transaction. So what happened? That guy just did a cancellation of that transaction. So what happened? So cancellation timestamp is now populated. Okay, so how will be addressing these kind of scenarios? You already faced that data 4 days back. Okay, suppose 4 days back you just capture 5,000 transaction records. Okay, where all these 5,000 records, out of that, all these 5,000 transaction records were having transaction timestamp as a particular transaction timestamp value, but cancellation timestamp was null. Okay, because these are successful transactions. But what happened, like if you today query the same database, you will see 4 days back the transactions, few records are having cancellation timestamp filled with some timestamp. Okay, but in your data lake, you just captured those data only. 5 days back, whatever the status of those records were there, you just captured that. So how you will be managing that? How you'll be updating that particular records in your data lake? So all big data tools, they don't support this kind of operation. These are called upsert operation, update and insert. Okay, upsert stands for update and insert. These upsert operations are not allowed, not available in traditional data lake. You create data lake means you are just dumping the data into SDFS or S3 or Google File System and all this, right? So your data is available on this kind of platforms, this kind of file systems. And what you do, you just read this data from different. So you just read all this data and if you put it into S3, and what happened, like the data has this problem, like past data may get updated. Okay, so you imported this project, right? It will take a lot of time because I have used this. See that? Okay, you have good internet, right? Where it is mapping and all. Okay, so it will take a while. SPT 1 to 8. Why it is taking 1 to 8 here? I'm wondering. Okay, anyway, just leave it like that. You have good internet, right? So okay, anyways, so everybody you can just try to import meanwhile. So yeah, that's the point. Like I'm saying, like in traditional data lake, you don't have this option for updating records because these are TBs of data getting dumped into the data lake, and this data lakes don't support this update insert option. In fact, delete option is also not there. Means record-wise delete option is not there. You can delete a partition if you write the data in a particular partition way, date-wise, customer-wise. If you did the partition, so that partitioning is there. You can drop one partition. That's fine. But if you want to delete a particular record or whole bunch of records, that option is also not available, because these are not traditional RDBMS, isn't it? So it's not Oracle database, it's not MySQL database wherein you can update, insert, delete, and all these options are allowed. But data lake is basically for OLAP operations like analytics, online analytical processing. So you are mostly warehousing and there's BI, those purposes. You create data lake, data mart, or those purposes. Okay, so for that, like this transaction level ACID properties, it doesn't support. ACID is basically atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. ACID properties, if you remember in the RDBMS we have learned. So those generally not available in traditional data lake. Okay, so what happened, like these database people, they were doing research on this, how to enable this ACID properties into traditional data lake. They came up with a new solution called Delta Table or Delta Lake, so whatever you want, you can call it as. So they tried the level best to add ACID properties into a traditional data lake. Okay, ACID compliant RDBMS means what? Like every time you do a transaction, so the transaction logs will be captured there. So the underlying database server will capture the transaction log. And at this particular timestamp, this record inserted or that record deleted or that record updated, those kind of things. So they tried to enhance this feature. They tried to incorporate this kind of feature into traditional data lake. Okay, mostly we always use Parquet, and Parquet is also natively supported by this Spark framework itself. So they created another layer on top of Parquet. Okay, just like if you remember, we read the data saying Spark session.read.format Parquet, and you basically read the data as a data frame. You write the data, Spark session, so data frame.write.format Parquet.save. You provide a location. Okay, so those things are basically so those things are there. Like here, slight change. Instead of Parquet, you have to provide Delta. That's it. Of course, you have to add the library, corresponding library for the Delta Lake, Delta IO library, SVD dependency you have to add. Along with that, you have to add the corresponding library into your application. And once you add the application, then you can make use of Spark session.read.format. Then inside format, you can put Delta, and you can read the data as a Delta table. Okay, so you can convert most of the operations. So once you create a Delta table supports delete, update, merge, all these operations it supports. Delete means you want to give a condition basis that you want to delete few records from a data lake. Okay, so it will be basically it will be able to delete few records. Okay, and similarly you want to update few records. Update also supported. Merge is also supported. Merge is basically you have 100 records available in that location, in that particular directory, where you are just putting that Parquet file as a Delta table, and a new data set came in, so you can merge them together. Merge, you can give a condition. If this condition satisfies, merge this table, merge these records. If doesn't support, simply insert or append those records. That's my point. Suppose you have data set like country, year, temperature. Okay, so country, year, temperature. You are saying this two. You have one data set, India, Brazil, say 2019. Temperature was say 20 degree and 45 degree. And you got another record, another same two. Say you got another data set, say India, China. Okay, so you got like in the year of India for 2019, you got 50 degrees centigrade. For China, you got say 2020, and temperature you say got 45 degrees. You want to merge these records. You can give a condition like this table should be merged, which is the country name, and you can say merge the record if year is same. Insert the records when years are different. Getting my point? So you have two records, India 2019, 45 degrees. Okay, you are getting a new record, India 2019, 50 degrees. That means for the same year data you revisited. Okay, in the subsequent run, you're running your application in batch first. So in the subsequent run, you revisited the same data, country India, year 2019, but temperature is not 45, rather 50. So you want to merge this previous record. Earlier, you already have in that Parquet directory, you have the file, you have the record India 2019 45. Now you want to merge it as India 2019 50. And China is a new record you got, China 2020, and the temperature is 45. So this record will be inserted because it's not matching. So it's not matching any condition. So it is simply merge it. Okay, that's the whole criteria. So these kind of operations, delete, update, these operations are allowed. And time travel. Okay, time travel not like Einstein's time travel. That's practically not possible. We can't. So the concept here, time travel means it's versioning, you can say. Okay, just like RDBMS, I'm not sure, like I didn't work into that depth level. So, but here, when you are basically in subsequent iterations, your job is running at a daily level. Okay, you saw like during weekend some bad thing happened. Maybe Friday these people put some patch and you got some wrong data, and you just what happened? You allowed your job ran successfully. Okay, so you end up adding some junk records into your data lake. So there is no way you can revoke it currently. Okay, this kind of things are very, very sensitive problems in traditional data lake systems. You have to see, you have to sort the database with the timestamp, you have to delete the record. Okay, and all these things you have to do manually. Okay, it's very difficult to recover the system if you by mistake just allowed few junk records enter into your data lake. Okay, so you have to manually go there into the directory and you have to see like which are the partitions added recently. Then you have to make a guess, or you have to programmatically see what are the contents. If you see that's a bad record, then you have to remove it. Okay, you have to delete that using SDFS command, or you can use SDFS command. If it is S3, then you have to use the S3 command to remove those partitions. So to solve this kind of problem, Delta Lake came up with the option time travel. Okay, so every time you do any operation, insert, update, delete, merge, any update, any operation you do, you just create a new version. Okay, it just maintains all these transactions as different JSON files. First time you create a delta table, it created a new JSON file saying this is the log of the first insert. Then you update few records, then it will add a new JSON file about the transaction log. Transaction log not about the transaction data, rather the transaction log of the delta table. Every operation, every write operations you are doing, not read, every write operation you are doing, that write operation will be having associated transaction log. Okay, so each log is having a version, all this couple of fields are there. So every time you read, every time, so since like all these write operations have a transaction log already also get added to that same directory. So now you have a liberty to basically roll back to certain version. Okay, suppose your job is running at a daily basis. So what you can do, you can roll back. You can go to any previous version. Okay, you can just see, there is a history function is there. You can just call that delta table.history, and it will show you all these versions. So you sort it based on the descending order. Then you can basically roll back to one or two version, whatever you feel like the right place to roll back. Okay, couple of options like insert anyway. It was already available in normal data plane. That is through write append mode. That is what I'm meaning as insert into data lake or delta lake. Insert append mode was there earlier. But update, delete, merge, these three operations were not there. So that has been added using delta table. And also you have this what you call time travel, like versioning is also supported here in delta table. Okay, these are a couple of options been added here. Okay, so it sounds very what you call next generation data lake technology. So you can imagine like because I saw this question, I faced this question in one of the product-based companies. So I just don't want to name it. So they were having this transaction data stuff. So they were creating. It's again a payment gateway company. So the question was basically every time a person initiates a transaction, the transaction goes through multiple steps. First, you initiated the transaction, the status is some XYZ. Then it gets validated from your bank account. That account is valid and you have sufficient amount. Then status updated to some other value. Then the same transaction goes to the destination, and if you take the destination account is or the target account is correct, then the status got updated to something else. Then the amount got debited to the merchants to the basically target account. Then your status gets changed. So you can just think like the same transaction is going through multiple, same transaction record is going through multiple status. Okay, and you want to capture those data. It's a streaming data. Okay, it's continuously every millisecond, thousands of transactions are happening. So you have to make sure like how to read this data, and you have to create a data lake, because transaction data means there are a lot of use cases can be coming. Real-time monitoring, like you want to monitor monitor in the real time, like how transactions are happening. That's one of the very crucial things, because you can imagine your transaction daily happens roughly $1 million transaction happening. So all of a sudden today you are seeing 5 million transactions. That means something bugs in your code. People are exploiting your system. If there is no real-time monitoring system, you are gone. Your business will be closed tomorrow, isn't it? So this kind of business use cases, they have to use this Delta Lake very efficiently. Delta Lake was not there earlier. They were still doing. They were using some difficult mechanism, but now Delta Lake can solve this kind of problem like anything. You can build this kind of Delta Lake in not more than 2 to 3 weeks. It's that easy and that robust. You can create a data lake that supports like only one occurrence of the transaction. That means every time a transaction is happening, you capture it in the Delta Lake. And the subsequent time when you are revisiting the same transaction with the updated status, you can update the record, because now your data lake supports updation. Okay, so all these kind of operations you can do it. And again, like the APIs are pretty unique. It's pretty unified. Like the same API can be used in batch-based data plane as well as stream-based data plane. Okay, so all these options are there, so we can make use of that. Okay, so these are the it's done or still going on? Import is done.
So that Delta Lake will run on top of Spark.
On top of
Spark, right?
Yeah, it's a Spark only. So you are using it's one of the you can say not file format, because file format in the backend is Parquet only. It's another layer on the file format. In the backend, it uses Parquet. On top of Parquet, it has added an extra layer. Okay, it's you can say it's a data storage layer. Okay, on top of Parquet to enable this kind of options to basically create a data lake, Delta Lake. So why it's failing yet? Failed download and all this. I'm not sure what is happening here. So other people, you can also try parallelly. I just want to see, because
for me also it failed, Siddharth.
it shouldn't fail actually. This is the first batch. I'm just starting this Delta Lake. Of course, like in the next batch, it will be further more examples. But the funda is this: like you are basically incorporating ACID properties on the traditional data lake through the concept of this new storage format called Delta Lake. Let's not wait. Can you quickly change the this is not required actually. You can just delete this. Just fill your S3 credentials here. You have your S3 bucket and all, right?
like I imported Siddharth, but still it's not done. I mean,
It's going on, right?
Yeah. It's internet is very slow today.
Okay. Sunday intentionally this ISPs are giving slowness or not? What are you doing? You're searching credentials file or what?
Yes, Siddharth, I'm searching credential. Just a
If it is there, fine. Otherwise, you can create a new agent, not to worry much. This is correct, right? You can copy this directly as click on the same thing. Okay, so let's see if programs are running or not, then we'll get to know. Yeah, schema enforcement is also one of the problems, like what you saw. So here I'm just giving you an example. What I did, I just created a data frame, Spark session.range 1 to 5, and I'm just what I'm doing, I'm just writing it to this particular path. Okay, so schema enforcement one directory I'll be creating, and there I'll be writing this. Format is Parquet override. First time it will be writing. Let's execute this if it is running or not. Have you ever faced this append issue? Like append is supported here, but if you append by mistake, you append a data set which is of different schema, it will not fail your write operation. But subsequent time when you read the data, gone. So what will happen? You will not be able to read the data. The entire data will be corrupted. So you have to delete those new partitions. Here what you see, I created a data frame having one column only, ID, that is of type long. Okay. So I just created here Spark session.range 1 to 5 print schema. So let's see if it is working or not. Yeah. So I just printed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm writing this data into this Parquet folder. Okay. DF path, that is schema enforcement. Okay, I'm writing this data Spark session.coalesce1, write format Parquet. Then mode is overwrite. Then I'm writing this. Okay, so let's go to your directory. Pratik Bhatt, right? I just created this schema enforcement folder. And here you can see it successfully written this data. Okay, so cool. That happened. And then let's append some data. Okay. So while appending, I'm intentionally doing some bad thing. So this particular data is a data frame of type long. Okay, but this is intentionally I just changed the ID column to string. Okay, I just casted it to string, and then I'm writing it to the same directory. That means in the same schema enforcement folder, you have written one partition having 5 records, having 4 records, and these are of type long. And you're writing again another partition and having one column ID, but the data type is string. Okay, so it should fail. Okay, otherwise what will happen once multiple jobs are writing data to the same directory, so it will be corrupted, isn't it? So I'm writing this data. So when you are reading that data again, Spark session.read.parquet. Okay, when you are reading this data, then it will fail. It will write the data smoothly. It will not trouble you. Okay, when you are appending a new partition. Okay, when you are appending a new partition. Okay, you are writing the data, so writing will happen smoothly. It will not trouble you. I think they're very slow today. Yeah. Okay, just write the data successfully. Now it's trying to read the data. Here I'm printing reading data, failed. See what's the problem? What's the problem it is saying? Oh, so the problem what it is saying, Parquet column cannot be converted in file this. Okay, it's showing one particular partition. This is column is ID. You can see ID, expected, begint, found binary. Some random exception it will give, like that means you have mismatch. So what you did, you initially wrote this particular partition. Okay, this is having one particular column having begin time. Long is sometimes represented as begint. So but what is happening? So you again wrote another partition because you wrote the data in append mode, right? So observe it carefully, otherwise you'll not understand anything. You just write another partition, but this particular partition when you're writing, this is of type string. Okay, ID is of type string. So you write it successfully, but when you're reading the data, so Spark is not able to identify whether that ID is of type begin or it's of type string. So that conflict is happening. Okay, that friction is happening. That's why it's not able to read it. It's throwing exception. Yeah, it's unable to decipher the type of ID, whether it is begin or binary or what. Okay, because you have multiple partitions having multiple types of data frame, multiple types of column. Okay, this is another very big problem. So as I mentioned, no. So what this traditionally, how do you solve these kind of problems? So you see the date. Okay, suppose this ran on 20th of June. This ran on 21st of June. Next one ran on 22nd of June. Okay, so you have observed like in Friday your job was you are able to read the data, but Saturday Sunday something went wrong. So what you do, you just sort it, date modified, you can sort it, and you can simply delete the data, delete few partitions, newly added partitions, and you go and manually check what the problem happened. Or you first programmatically read the data, you see like what are the changes in the columns. Then if you see it's really few columns are corrupted, you have to drop those partitions and you have to rerun. It's a very painful activity, isn't it? Sometimes if you by mistake delete some correct data, you have to run for multiple days of run. It's a very painful activity. So let's see how Delta Lake has solved this kind of problem. So this is data frame limitation, and I just rewrote the same program here. So here what you are doing. So yeah, before that I just forgot to mention. In build.svt, you can see we have added these two things. Sorry, this one thing only. So library dependencies io.log delta core 060. I've added this delta lake svt dependency. That's the only additional thing I've done. Okay. So now what I'm doing. So here I have to add these two things. With these additional two things I have to add. That is Spark Delta Log Store class. Okay, that is S3 Sling Driver Log Store, and Spark SQL extension. You can add Delta Spark Session extension. That's it. And this access key secret key you can add. Earlier we were adding after creating the Spark Session object. Now you can directly while creating also you can add it. Okay, while creating the Spark Session after .master you can add a whole bunch of configs. So this is also allowed. So only these two things I have added additionally here. Okay, and another thing you notice here, I was earlier using S3N. S3N is not supported for Delta Lake. S3A we have to use. It's another very important observation. You have to notice it. You have to remember this. So S3N network, S3N protocol is not supporting, so you have to use S3A. Don't ask me like what is the difference, but yeah, you can just imagine if you just go through the documentation side. S3A was the older protocol, and S3N is the new one, but it's not supporting with new one. So S3A we have to use, and similarly you can see I'm not using S3N : rather S3A : Okay, I created a new directory, schema enforcement delta. Okay, over it first I'm creating a table here. I same 1 to 5 I just created a data frame, and so that data frame I'm just writing there. Okay, that data frame dot coalesce one, write format is delta, mode is overwrite, save this location. So different location I'm writing the data. Okay, and then what I'm doing, I'm reading that. So here you just create a simple data frame, normal Spark data frame, and write it as a delta table. But once you create a delta table, you can't just read it saying Spark session.read.format delta then location. You have to read using this syntax. Okay, delta table dot for path. Okay, Spark session and the path. This is a syntax to read. So delta table dot for path, it will create a delta table for you. Then you can convert it to data frame. Then you can call show function. Okay, let's execute this. This will create a delta table and let's see how it looks like. One second. It just created a data frame and I'm writing that data as a delta table. Okay, data you have read, then you are reading the data using delta table dot for path, Spark session and delta table. Then you convert it to data frame and then you are calling show function. Now you go here. You can see this created a new table. So you can see new partition added. Earlier you see underscore success, but now it's creating underscore delta log. I was saying that it just captures for every insert, update, delete, merge. It just create a separate log file. Okay, transaction log. This is the log file. You can just quickly download and see how it looks like. Now you can see it has this kind of information. Every time you make a write operation, it just creates this log, commit info, what time it's committed. Okay, what is the operation? It's a write operation. First time you just wrote, mode was overwrite, partition empty it is showing. Okay, maybe one person can take the responsibility to understand it more in more details. Okay, operation metrics num files 1. Okay, partition by empty, that's correct because we didn't pass any partition by column, but we specify number of partitions as 1, coalesce 1, that's what it's showing here. Number of bytes write, number of rows also it's mentioned, like 4 rows, it's just write. Okay, you can see all this information. Okay, main write version, main reader version 1, main writer version 2, meta is this, type struct field, main column name is ID, type is long. Okay, it's a lot of readable information is there. Okay, long, then metadata, partition, columns nothing, computation nothing, created this. It's showing epoch time. Then add, it just added this particular partition. It's clearly just mentioned the transaction log. The RDN is also another advanced version of the same. But here for a data lake level, for OLAP data lake, they are creating transaction logs in this format. It's a pretty nice readable information. You can just get to know like what things happen. Even if one of the developers did some mistake and he is not accepting that, you can quickly come here and you can see like what wrong happened, isn't it? So it's a very handy thing. You will just see I'm now appending few records. Okay, what I'm trying to do, I created again another data frame 5 to 10. Okay, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so here what I tried, same thing I tried, I just trying to change the column from ID long to string. Okay, then I'm writing the data. Let's see what is happening. So I'm saying it should fail, right? It shouldn't allow you to insert that record because you are writing some bad record there, isn't it? So it's failing. Let's see what error message is there. So it's saying threadman or failed to merge fields ID and ID, failed to merge incompatible data types, long type and string type. Clearly saying, right? It's not allowing to merge the new data frame with the existing delta table because these are schema mismatch. Yeah, this is called like schema enforcement. The moment you create a delta table means The schema is already associated with that. Okay, schema is already associated with that. Then now what you're doing, you're trying to add some new, whenever you're trying to add some new data having different schema, so it's not allowing you. Okay, Saurabh, you can take this assignment. So try to find out like how to allow this kind of record. Suppose, so that should be that I just went to that, but I didn't get a chance to go through in details. So schema evolution is also allowed. Like suppose you have one data frame having 2 columns and you added another data frame having 3 columns, one additional column. So I think like it supports that. You should able to merge this particular new data frame with the existing delta table. And when you are reading the data, it should give you, for entire data, it should give you 3 columns. Just give it a try. I'm not 100% sure. Just give it a try if it is happening or not. Create a data frame with 2 columns, call 1, call 2. Okay. Then append another data frame, I think call 1, call 2, call 3. Okay. How to add, how to basically mention that thing. Programmatically, how to mention that. If additional columns are there, then accept it. Give it a try. But yeah, but for this particular example, you see like by default, it doesn't allow you to add any data frame which is not of same schema. Then now we are safe. Like we don't have to come back again Monday, roll back Saturday and Sunday run. Okay, by mistake, if you just ask this guy to some newcomer who is having lesser experience, he by mistake deleted few more partitions. Okay, then you have to do all these things again and again. So you can avoid that thing if you are just using delta table instead of plain Parquet, isn't it? So that is schema enforcement part. Then the next thing is basically delete part. The deletion was also not available. Deletion means you can delete few partitions there, but record level deletion was not there in normal data lake. So how to add that kind of thing, you can see here. So what I'm doing here, I just mentioned one, it is the same directory. I just read this table as a delta table dot path, this particular location, then delta df dot to df dot show. I'm printing it. Then what I'm doing, I'm just trying to delete the record, delta df dot delete. Okay, delete is not available in plain Spark data frame. It's available on delta table only. Delta df dot delete. I'm giving a condition id less than equal to 2. Okay, so though you see like I didn't reassign delta df equal to delta df dot delete. It's all in sync. Okay, now this delta df is always in sync with the actual storage. Every operation you do, it will automatically reflect there. For example, you see like here I have only one log, right? I didn't apply any second write operation. Okay, the same transaction log is there. And now I'm just trying to apply a write operation, that is delete operation. Okay, I deleted the record. You saw I have 1, 2, 3, 4 records are there. I'm trying to delete the second record. Let's see. Reading the data, delta table dot for path, Spark in the path. Then show function, it's showing the records. Then you are deleting record where id less than equal to 20. That means 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 will be removed. You will be having only 3 and 4. Okay, only 3 and 4. Let's go to the log folder. Cool, you can see another log has been added, a huge number of zeros, 1. Obviously, because in a traditional warehouse, a lot of runs are happening. So that's why this big number has been given. Stuff and just see like how it looks like. Commit info timestamp, this operation is delete operation parameter. Predicate is id less than equal to 2. Okay. read version 0, blind append false. Then number of records deleted is, number of rows deleted is 2. Number of files, num added files is 1. Number of copies, num copies rows is 2. So what happened, like once you applied the delete operation, it created a new file. That new file is added with the 2 records what you deleted, because it supports time travel. No? It cannot delete it entirely, but it just managed internally in this way. It removed one file, created a new file with this 2 deleted records. Okay, but it will make sure when you read the data, it will not consider those two deleted records. Then remove this file path has been removed, earlier file has been removed, a new file has been created. Okay, and all this information. Okay, that's why like this kind of thing you can just imagine. Though you didn't insert any record, but still you are seeing a new parquet file has been added. Internally, what it is doing, it is just removing 2 records, but that data remain as it is. It just created a new partition having only 3 and 4. Okay, 1 and 2 has been removed from this. Okay, and when you are reading the data, it's not just you reading the partitions, it's reading the partitions as well as the logs, because logs has a lot of information. You will just read the latest log and do all this operation. Okay, delete operation you saw, like how Delta Lake supports delete. You can record level delete operation is allowed here, just like your traditional RDMS. Similarly, update is also allowed. Update, what you are doing, you are updating the record. You just first read the delta table, then you are putting an update operation, delta df dot update expression. Then you are saying ID equal to 3. Then you have to say like, so you are saying first is condition, on what is the condition you are applying. You are saying when ID equal to 3, then you are putting overriding this value. Okay, whenever ID equal to 3, just replace ID equal to 300. For example, you have a data set having customer data set. Customer city is Bangalore. Customer ID is 3. Okay, you are saying whenever ID equal to 3, put city equal to Pune. This kind of update, what I'm saying. Here's a single column, that's why I'm just using the same column. Map, right? You can, it's not like one column, you can update multiple columns. So suppose customer ID 101, name is Siddharth Ray, location is Bangalore. Okay, this is a record is already available. What I want to do, I just change my city from Bangalore to Mumbai. So what I have to do, I have to basically say condition equal to 100, ID equal to 101, map expression. I'll say location equal to Mumbai, pin code equal to this, like that. I can specify all this information. Okay, this is what I mean as record level operation. It's pretty much similar to your RDMS, but syntax are different. Okay, so I spent almost 7 to 8 hours on this. Looks like very easy code, but you'll not get ready-made code anywhere. Okay, so most of the time you'll get Databricks notebook. You have to translate it using Scala code. It's a lot of effort. And that S3 and S3, that took almost half an hour for me to figure it out what went wrong. So you're getting almost like ready-made code you can directly implement in your project also. If you feel like adding Delta Lake, you already have a template, boilerplate already available with you. So we are updating where ID equal to 3. Now it should be, instead of 3, it should be 300. Okay. Similarly, you can go there and check. Obviously, a new partition will be added. Here also one new transaction log should be added. Cool. Type is update, predicate is ID equal to 3. Then operation is number of rows updated 1, all this information. Okay, so very nice thing. Okay, so very, very nice thing. Just if you're able to explain this part, so many people are not aware, you know, it looks pretty straightforward, but that thing also will not get ready-made code in Google. That's update example. Merge example is a little tricky. See here, merge, what you're doing here, you first create a data frame, okay, having two records, Brazil 2011, 22 centigrade, India 2006, 24. Okay, you created a data frame. Okay, then you write it as a delta table. Okay, you first create a data frame and then write it as a delta table. Then the next statement, what you are doing, you are merging something. Okay. You'll see the merge operation here. Okay, so first it's just write that data, then I'm trying to merge it. I created a new data frame called Australia 2019 50, India 2010 100. Okay, so year-wise condition I didn't put. I simply just update. I want to update India record. India was earlier 2016, say 26, 24. Now it is 2010 100. Okay, which is not true 100 degrees centigrade. Nobody will survive. So what I'm doing, I'm just trying to merge these two data frames, merge these two delta tables. This is the syntax. Okay, the parent delta table dot alias, we are giving alias name, merge the new data frame, this update data frame what I created now. Okay, alias updates. Condition is on what basis the first it will join, then only it will merge, right? So country wise I want to join. So for that I just mentioned the first tables alias, that is delta table, so delta merge dot country equal to updates dot country. Okay, so this is basically I merge these two data frames. Then how to merge you have to specify. When matched, whenever these two records are matching, that means when it will be matching. So for this India and for this India, these two records are matching records. So that's why you have to say when matched, then update expression, you are saying temperature equal to update dot means new records temperature, year equal to new records here you can see here India 26 and 24 degree. Now what I want to do, I want to because India it maps, so that's why I just want to update it with, instead of 2006 I want to change it to 2010, instead of 24.73 I want to change it to 100. This is a matched condition. When not matched means Australia is not matched. Right? For that I'm saying simply insert the record. Insert expression map country equal to new records country, year equal to new records year, temperature equal to new records temperature. Execute. All in sync. It will be completely sync with the delta table and it will be doing this activity. Yeah, given merge. Spend some time, okay? It's a good thing. If you just mention in your resume, you will get a lot of attention. Trust me, it's a very latest thing. Just Google search it. Last year, April only, it just open source. It just got open source. It just handed over to Apache. Earlier, it was only with Databricks. It's only a year back only this released. Many big vendors that experimenting the solution. In fact, in my current project also, we have a POC. I did that. So it's a very, very latest thing. Okay, you should basically add whole bunch of lot of things into your profile to start getting good calls. Okay.
Match,
also read some.
yeah,
Sorry?
this match and not match, like it's similar to this SQL query, right?
Yeah, exactly. SQL query. The whole objective is to add this asset property and add various kind of concepts here.
Can you scroll the code to when not matched?
Okay, you can see the output here. India is now changed to 2020, 2010 and 100, and Brazil remain as it is. Australia just got added here. Okay, similarly, you can see the transaction log also. See this code, like it's clear, like if you have some confusion. Anybody having any queries on this? Syntax is something you have to remember, you have to digest this information because this is a different type of syntax you're seeing. But if you just logically see, it's not very tricky. First time when you will see, like you'll get frustrated. Yeah, what is this? what is this when match, not match. But if you just think carefully, it's pretty straightforward. You're saying kind of join when you are doing, you give the joining column. That's what you did in the merge clause, merge function. Then you are saying when match what to do, when not match what to do. When match you want to update or you want to delete. Okay. So the same transaction example what I was giving you. So in that case, you have to delete the record. So you revisited the same transaction record with some different status. Maybe some other columns has also been updated. So you don't want to do the column wise matching. Rather, what you want to do when it is matched, simply delete the record and then again insert it. When not matched, simply insert it. Okay. So that kind of logic. When records are matching, India equal to India, then what do you want to do? When not matched, when some new records has come over, then what to do to those information. Obviously, we'll go to our transaction log and we'll see what went there. Earlier you have 3 transaction logs. Now you have the nothing came.
It is already this matched and not matched condition already like in SQL I'm using currently in my project for one of the requirement space.
Sorry, for not match, what will happen?
Like for one of my requirement in my project, so this match and not match conditions I'm already using in stored procedures.
Okay, so you're already using it. Delta Lake you're using it or?
No, it's just SQL only, simple
SQL only, okay.
Yeah.
But see, why I'm not able to see that new log? My data got updated, but I'm not seeing the additional log there. Which triggers me to see that again. Let's add another case. I just want to see like if it is actually merged or not. Sorry. Oh God. A lot of things are coming. It's really, I mean, try to find time and update. Let's see if it is updated or not. I'm wondering like what went wrong. This is the last program I tried. Yeah, it's updated, but yeah, what we noticed here is basically for merge there is no logs at there, no transaction logs at there. That's what we can just conclude from here. For merge there is no logs. Okay, so that is there. So let's do the next example. But again, I have to research it why it's not like that. Anyways, so last example is basically time travel demo. This is basically time travel. So what I'm trying to do, first I want to see all these versions, okay, and the same data frame, same delta table what I created. I want to read the table as a delta table, and I just want to see like that delta table dot history. Okay, it's having an attribute called version, and then I'm ordering it in the version, and then I'm trying to show. Okay, let's see. Oh, my bad, my bad. My bad. So what I did, no, I'll just, you got to know what's the problem, why we are not able to see the log for transaction log for merge. I'll tell you, because it's a new data frame I just created. But I was just searching in the whole data frame, the old data table. This one is merge example. Okay, here you should see this log. The second log is this. Okay, nobody is basically noticing this. Like that was a delta table having integers 1, 2, 3, 4, and here we created a 3 attribute delta table. What is it? Do me a favor, yes. Be attentive at least. If I am missing something, you should help me. Right? You can see, yeah, here the operation is merge. Okay, and you're given the condition when country is matching. Okay, how many rows updated and all these things are coming here. Okay, don't take it like, don't feel like, yeah, merge is not as a right operation. It's the right operation only. So we are just checking the logs in a different location. Okay, that's there. Now you see, like from the previous that schema enforcement delta table, we are just trying to see the logs. Version 1, first time we just write overwrite. Then we deleted records where id less than equal to 2. Then we update where where id equal to 3, change it to 3. Okay, so I'm just able to see all these. I'm just seeing all these versions, and then what I'm doing, I'm just reading this data and saying spark.read.format delta option version of 1. Okay, 01, first version. I just want to see. Okay, then I just execute it, and I should see the second write operations output. This is what is called time travel. You can travel to any previous version. Okay, that's there. Just like for now, I just went through the operation wise in write, update, delete, and all. But you can just see through times also, like at what time what happened. Basis that also you can make a call like to which version you want to roll it back and all. Okay, so you can see after the delete operation, it was only 3 and 4. So when you roll back to that version, you are seeing that record. But actually, current value is 304. But you are seeing the previous version of the same delta table. For me, it's a very cool stuff. I'm not sure like what it matters to you, but for me, it's a great thing. If you really want to start working in real-time projects, no, change data capture is a very, very painful job. And trust me, like you will have a lot of sleepless nights for those kind of things. Do a small mistake, your entire data mart will be corrupted, and you have to sit whole night, hours long to fix it. Because your client will start bombarding a lot of escalation. What went wrong? Why are you using duplicate data? How can it happen? How are you managing CDC? All these things. I myself have practiced it like a couple of years back. And when I'm comparing those scenarios with Delta Lake, it's a very robust tool. Okay, once you start working, you'll get to know its importance. But it's a great tool.
So that
yeah.
So will it add to the overhead on timings like of the query like?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, definitely. Like for batch-based applications, still it's fine. Okay, in batch-based application, it's perfectly fine. You are adding these logs, but for streaming application, you can see like if every 5 seconds you are updating your storage, your delta table. You can imagine how many this transaction logs are getting added. Right. So what we do for that, for streaming application, at a regular interval, we execute the vaccum command. Okay, vaccum command is basically it will just remove all these transaction logs, and it will just create a new, it will just overwrite the delta table. This is the current what you call this is the current state of that particular delta table. Otherwise, what is happening, every time you read the data, you notice like it has to read the partitions as well as the transaction logs. Collectively, it has to read and a lot of processing. Reading itself is it's not a very straightforward process. In the backend, a lot of things are happening. So for that, if you just execute the vacuum command is also available in Redshift. If you have, if you just search vacuum command, just search what is vacuum command in Redshift. So what it will do, Redshift table is also having the similar funda, like you add one particular column as sort key. So data will be ordered in that way. So every time you read data in a random manner, so the sorting got distorted. So you may not get optimum performance when you are reading the data from that particular Redshift table. So at a regular interval, you have to keep executing vacuum command to resort all these records. This is the sort key. Exactly same concept here also available. Similar concept available here. You have whole bunch of transaction logs. Okay, at certain time, suppose it's a streaming application, every 1 day, 2 day, every week, you have to vacuum it. Okay, you have to run the vacuum command to a vacuum function to again bring it to reduce the number of transaction logs and come to a final state. Okay, then the subsequent runs will keep on adding the new log. Okay, to make it faster, we execute vacuum intermittently. Okay, that is there. Again, like as I'm saying, like for the first time in this batch, I just added this. Obviously, like in the subsequent batches, new examples will be coming, more real-time examples will be coming. Because you are also working, I'm also working. So once I start implementing in projects, I will see some real-time challenges, and I'll be explaining it as simple as it is. So, but I think like it's a very good start. Okay, so if you just self-explore Delta Lake, it will usually take a day or two. It will just understand what it is, try some examples, because there is a very good course available. Actually, I purchased this course. If you just search Databricks self-paced course, I highly recommend everybody just go spend some money learning some new stuff. Don't hesitate, because it's an investment on yourself. So these people, Databricks, these people are they are the founder of, Matti Jari is the founder of this company, and he published this Spark project as his PhD project. So definitely, so they try their level best to add all these new things. Okay, so they have added a whole bunch of courses here. Control F, as a managing Delta. How many results you are seeing? Yeah. This is the course, only $75. I have this course with me. If somebody want, I can share, but I will share the cost also. But I just got this course like last week only. I finished this. But a lot of cool stuff are there. A lot of cool stuff are there inside. Okay, every course offered by this Databricks, at least I'm just giving you some pointers, okay, because this course shouldn't be the end, right? Because data engineering is a vast area. Like you can leverage this knowledge if you are getting into some machine learning engineer role, or later if you go with this blockchain and all. So all these learnings will be reutilized. So we should know like what are the right forum, or what are the right sources to follow to get the authentic content. Don't just fall into this big players are there giving big courses. Most of them are theory based. If you really want some like hands-on based example, you can come here. Like actually, these are the products of these people, Databricks people. So let's follow their courses system. Though it's $75. Actually, in India, if I sell this kind of course, nobody will give me more than 5,000 rupees. But yeah, anyway, like you'll get authentic people are giving authentic content. Okay, and you can basically follow their examples and their videos, and you can start using it in a project. That level of clarity you'll get here. Okay, so this is one of the very good forums. You can see many courses are there, but yeah, they'll be charged a lot. You can see small, they're just broken into different only data transformations, load, and small pieces like $75. Yeah, for streaming also $75. ML Flow, it's a kind of very new thing. Okay, this also is available here. A lot of things are there, so you can just sell, paste, post, like, post. You just register to their LinkedIn channel. You will get notification whenever they are giving some live content. Sometimes it is free, sometimes it is paid. So this is your budget. You can just plan accordingly. Okay, so these are the stuff for today. Okay, I'm tired actually. I just completed this part. So we have half an hour, but just try executing these programs by your own. Try to understand these logs. Okay, so how to make sense of that logs. Any queries before wrapping it up?
Siddharth, so if we use Delta Lake in our streaming application, so using checkpointing would be okay because Delta Lake is
No, why
solving
you are
the.
complicating the things? Like you anyway you are using Delta Lake. Delta Lake itself manages the transaction logs. That transaction log you can treat it as a you can treat that as a checkpointing only, isn't it? Because anyway your versions are also available. You want to roll back, you can with just a function call you can roll it back. Then why are we using checkpointing and all? Checkpointing is anyway it's a mandatory thing. Sorry, yeah. Sorry, I'm my bad. Like actually, checkpointing is a must for streaming application because if your application goes down, then how you will be recovering it? Checkpointing is a must. Okay, you have to checkpoint the offset. Otherwise, how you'll recover? Your job, your streams are running from last 5 years. Okay, some intermittently your job fails because of AWS outage or some other problem happened. So your application got turned off. So how you'll be recovering when you reinstate the process? When you start the job again, that stream job, how it will get to know like last time I just processed this object, this record. Now I should start reading from the next record. So how it will get to know that checkpointing will be there for sure. There is no escape from that. Here the purpose is basically you are creating a delta lake. You are creating a real-time data lake. If you are using delta lake with structured streaming, you are creating a real-time data lake. Why? Because the same example, if you just consider, no, you have transaction data coming every millisecond. Same transaction record may reappear with the same transaction ID, but with a different status. So if you write the proper merge logic, so what it will do, it will basically update the new transaction with the previous transaction record. Okay, so every time if you just read the data from the delta table, you will get the current snapshot of the transaction history. You're getting my point? So if you just traditionally what you do, you just allow all these transactions, duplicate transactions enter into your system. They are not called duplicate, rather they are called transaction with different status. But for an engineer, for a data engineering perspective, it's just it's a duplicate record only. So what you do, you read the data. Okay, you read that data and then do the deduplication you have to do. You read the data and then dedupe it. Dedupe it means you have a business logic. Yeah, you have transaction status 101, 102, 103, 104. So if you're seeing a same transaction ID is appearing multiple times, you have to apply a window analytics function. You apply a window on the transaction ID. Then you apply order by on the status. Then you take the first status, like row number equal to 1. Getting your point? So you have to write manual logic and you have to rerun that again every half an hour or 1 hour. It requires huge computation. Actually, on that, I've just written a blog. Once it will be published, I'll share that. So it's a proper use case. So I'm not sure if you're following me or not. So what I'm saying, like all these transactions, traditionally how you solve this kind of problems, people were solving that problem is basically you allow all these duplicate transactions. Duplicate transaction means I refer transaction ID TXN001, one status is 101, another status is 102, another status is 103, like that. All three transaction records you allowed to enter into your system. In your S3 bucket, you just added it. Then what you do, in a real-time basis, you add this record. So what you do, you write again another Spark job, which will be running every 1 hour or 2 hours because it has to process the entire data, isn't it? So what you have to do, you have to read the entire data frame. you have to apply a window, then partition by transaction ID, order by negative order of the transaction status, and call row number function. It will give you row number 1, 2, 3, 4. So put a where condition where row number equal to 1. That is the latest transaction record you are basically accumulating. Okay, and then take that data frame, write it in a separate location, and that particular data will be used as the input data for your real-time dashboard. Okay, that's not real time because assume like it's a transaction data, huge data. So if you dedupe the data every 2 hours, that means your dashboard will be refreshed every 2 hours. But if you make use of Delta Lake, okay, if you use the Delta table concept, your table is always at a second level or at few seconds level, it's always updated. It's a proper real-time data lake. Okay, every time you receive a new record, you immediately merge it with the existing Delta table. Are you following? Anybody following this? Or it's very abstract or very high level? Kamal, are you following?
Yes, Siddharth.
Manan, are you following? Murli?
Yeah, I'm following.
Yeah, so you can just imagine, okay, just try to visualize what I'm saying. So Delta table will solve this kind of problem in 2 seconds only. Okay, so you will see like in after 5-6 months, you will see just like now a lot of openings with structure streaming. Structure streaming becomes robust, become popular like 2 years back. Now every other JD they are writing structure streaming. Similarly, after 1 year, I guarantee you, just you ping me in the same DSM group, every JD will come, they will mention Delta Lake for sure. It is that powerful tool. Spend 5 years in this data engineering field, you will get to know like when new tool is coming, you will be able to identify what's its potentiality. So I feel it has great potentiality. You should see like in another 6 months, 1 year, you will see every other JD will contain Delta Lake. Okay, it's a very powerful tool. Okay, so that's all for today. Just practice this program. We'll again connect on I think Thursday, right? Yeah, Thursday. Okay, meanwhile, just do me a favor. Just try to complete those assignments on Glue, and also like, yeah, somebody, if you have time, you can just give it a try on streaming application. Pratik, seems like you are more interested on this. You can just give it a try. You manually create some records, okay, transaction record, and create a transaction set TXN01 1000 status 101. Same TXN01 transaction same 1000 status 102. Like that, you keep adding multiple records in the backend. Write the data, create a streaming data frame, write it to S3 bucket as a Delta table, and see how it is happening. Trust me, learn a lot. Okay, it's a really cool thing. If anybody is trying this, no, you'll be super confident. You can mention it in your resume also, and you'll be getting a lot of value. Okay, if you mention this in your resume, because it's very latest. Many companies are experimenting. I've given few interviews a couple of months back. Many people were asking this kind of questions, but I was not able to figure it out. So the question is basically they will give you the scenario and they will ask you how to solve it. So the example what I was saying, that was the question only. So he was asking me how will be solving. So I was saying like same, I'll be using STD2 pattern to solve it. But that person is saying, no, my data volume is very huge. It's not, STD2 is not an option. What is? That means it's actually Delta Lake. Okay, once I started exploring this, I got to know that person was asking me this question, but I was not able to understand it. Okay, so at least you know this thing. Okay, if somebody will try to confuse you or will try to ask you, so you can give some answer. Similarly, a couple of other things are also in pipeline. Apache Hudi, it's a product from Uber. Uber just started using Apache Hudi. That is also a new thing. Maybe I'll be adding in subsequent batch. But yeah, keep exploring. If you just follow the right forums, you should get all this information. Okay, that's all for today. We'll again connect on Thursday. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye bye.
Okay, thank you, Siddharth.
Thanks, Siddharth.
Yeah.